Hi, Francis. Eric here. Talking with famous people. I've got a special kind of situation, a special kind of feeling. I've got a special explanation of why it is that my screaming at the partners failed, even though it worked. I mean, it's like or whatever. I got my money. That's not. But the thing is, the reason why the screaming at them failed had nothing to do with the outcome. Okay, at least not that outcome. I was gonna get my money no matter what. Eventually, my position was one that was predicated on the idea that they're trying to position themselves as though they were my employer, basically, or as though they were the dominant partner, and meaning like I was one who was benefiting more from the relationship than they, and so I needed to accommodate them. But that's not how it is. It's the other way around, and so for me, this had a lot to do with FE on that level. I didn't like that at all. And it had to do with TI on the other level, which is to say, um, basically, that I mean, it's clearly indicative that they don't understand that they don't understand what it is or something, right? What they've entered into, even though they agreed to it, or they either don't want to understand it or they're intentionally trying to make it something other than it is. And in either case, I'm compelled to answer those sort of things. But in no case is it about his fear. In no case is it about his English. In no case is it about anything regarding him and his needs. And the reason I'm making this video is I got a comment from Signs That Scream. I believe she's female. And she indicated that she thought I was being pedantic and unreasonable in the video. That the guy just wanted a little reassurance. Why wouldn't I reassure him? Well, the reason is for the things I just said. It is not remotely harmless to reassure him. And in fact, I failed in that I did way too much of that kind of stuff. The reason it's not okay to reassure him is the same reason I failed in my attempt, in my execution of that. I allowed myself to get dragged down to contention level arguments that didn't matter. And the takeaway from this video for anybody who watched it, those videos, the screaming videos where I'm screaming at the guy, the takeaway should be host Eric learns a lesson. It's not host Eric, you know, proves himself a badass or something. It's host Eric displays his shortcomings because, not because I yelled though. This is the important thing to remember. There are a lot of people out there who mistakenly believe that because it's an FE failure, that we should accommodate that in a way that allows us to deny justice, truth. That's wrong. It's completely wrong. So, in that regard, I think one of the best things the video did was display that the more emotional person is not the less logical person. That does not correlate. I think it's a good indicator for feelers as well. That knowing one's own feelings about a matter does not preclude one from being logical about it. And having clarity about one's own feelings about the matter does not preclude one from behaving logically. That, in fact, I can scream as loud as I want, but the arguments were logical. And theirs weren't. And they could be as reasonable sounding as they wanted, but their arguments were bullshit. And there are powerful lessons to be learned there, right? Powerful, powerful lessons. It doesn't matter what their feelings were. In this instance, I am not dismissing feelings. Obviously, I'm the one saying the more emotional person was the more logical one. I'm saying I knew my feelings and I knew where they came from. And I had no problem displaying them because I was right 100%. And they were wrong 100%. And worst of all, worst thing you can possibly do to me. You want to make me as furious as possible. They persisted in making the same points after I'd answered them or made new points without responding to my answers. If you do that, as far as I'm concerned, you're barely human. You've got to be responsive. You can't ignore me and still think you're arguing with me. At that point, you're just displaying a level of unacceptable failure that renders you barely human. Why? Why am I so strong? Why do I feel so strong about this? That you have to answer what I'm saying. Well, because otherwise your words don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. If I say, you need to do X because I'm liable if you don't, and I say, here's reasons why you're not liable, and they say, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to answer any of those, I still believe I'm liable. Just because I can't think of why you're wrong, it doesn't mean you're wrong. Yeah, it does, actually. Until you indicate an actual reason to believe that you are correct, you have zero or reason, by definition, to believe what you believe, and a number of reasons to believe what I believe. If you cannot tell me why you believe something, then that's called a pre-human stage of development. You don't know why, you insist it's true, and you ignore all evidence to the contrary. It's a pre-human state of development. It's the most important thing we as a species can prioritize. Being honest, not fucking lying. What do you think that is? You think that defensiveness, that refusal to acknowledge reality, that I will not see it, I will not listen, I will not hear you, I will not answer anything you say, it's lying. It's not anything but that. It is straight up fucking lying. When you don't answer what I say and give a different answer as though I hadn't said anything, you're lying. Now, you may be expressing honest emotional needs. That's okay. The problem is you're lying about that. You're not saying, I feel worried. I don't have any good reason, but I feel worry in my heart. Can you reassure me, Eric? Here's your money. Can you reassure me? Sure. Can you sign something now that I've given you the money? Maybe, if it's reasonable. I'm not against it. I'll look it over seriously. I won't just push it away from me and say, where's my money? Because now you've proven yourself somebody who's successfully fulfilled their end of the bargain. Who didn't try to cheat me. I mean, who didn't succeed in cheating me. And I don't think they were trying to cheat me anyway. I think it was what they said it was. They were worried. Not they necessarily, but the dude. But, of course, that's not a good enough reason, is it? And if I try to provide him a reassurance, it validates the fact that it was okay for him to hold on to my money until he forced me to jump through a hoop. I explained to those people multiple times, if you want to talk about that, I'm willing to talk about those things seriously. But it's not a condition for you to pay me my money. All the precursors, all the millions of conversations, not millions, but quite a few conversations between me and Gene leading up to the screaming videos were not recorded. They consisted of me going, so what's going on with my money? You know, what's going on with my checks? You know, like, she'd say, oh, okay, yeah, we'll pay you. We just need you to sign something real quick that says, say, okay, well, we'll talk about the signing thing after the money, right? Because obviously you can't set stipulations on giving me my money. So but I'm not opposed to signing that. That seems reasonable. Those conversations all happened in the lead up to the big screaming fights. At no point did Gene say to me until right before that meeting, like a couple days before that meeting, maybe, did she ever say to me that they were planning on holding on to my money. I just thought she was sort of sillily, in a silly fashion, was she thinking, well, maybe I can use the fact that I have his checks to leverage something. Worth a shot. Fine. It's worth a shot. I'm not upset about it. But once I made it clear that's not going to work, obviously it's not going to work, so pay me my money. Yeah, that's how I'm fine with that game. It was fun. I was not in any hurry to receive the check, is the thing. If I had been, it would have been a lot more frustrating. But as a consequence of me not being in a particular hurry to receive it, I let it stretch out a long time. They received the checks, the last of the checks weeks ago, and I've been talking to them about it ever since. So the reason all this is being made is in response to a comment, as I said, and the indication that basically it's unreasonable because I got everything, they got nothing. But of course, it's because I was entirely right and they were entirely wrong. They got all of their share. They have that, and they were keeping my share. But I'm the lead school here in this affair. He found the best argument he could find, and I'm not disputing that it's the best argument available to him, which is because they signed the checks to Paramount. But again, the fact that the commenter noted that liability point, noted a practical solution whereby I could reassure him, emails to parents and stuff, indicates that I didn't make clear enough in the video, and I didn't make clear enough to him, and these are the consequences of allowing yourself to get dragged down a contentious level argumentation when you shouldn't. None of that stuff matters at all, right? Because we had an agreement. You breached that agreement. You can't now claim that you're concerned about these things you didn't think of at the time, especially since I offered to do it myself at the time. I have no problem being the one who takes all the checks, deposits them, writes them a check. That's fine too. I told them that at the beginning. Whatever you want. They said, it doesn't matter. I said, well, historically I've written it to the admin people. You guys are keeping track of who paid after all. So, because I don't want to keep track of that stuff. So she said, fine. And I said, remember, but we have to be in agreement about this. You are going to give me the checks as they come in. You're not going to hold them. Why did I say that? Well, because I was broke at the time, mostly. That's the only reason I really said that is because I was broke at the time. It's like, I need money now. I need some checks coming in now. So, whatever comes in first, you just don't hold checks, just roll them into me, my portion right away, okay? And it wasn't out of a lack of trust with them or anything, but I'm glad I said it. It's not the sort of thing I normally would have attended to, right? I wouldn't, if I didn't need those checks right then, I wouldn't have said, kick them out to me as they come in. I'd have said, wait till you get them all and then write me one check. If I'd even said it at all, I probably would have addressed that. I probably would have said that. At that point, of course, it's her responsibility to say, actually, no, I'm worried about liability. Or to say, actually, yes, you do that. Or to say, actually, no, it's fine. It's not actually any liability. If they're concerned about liability. If they fail to pay attention to it, fail to realize it's a factor for them at the time, well, first of all, it's not a factor for them. It's not. Whether they sign up to Paramount or not, part of the problem here is I don't like the fact that they seem to think my debate school is not going to fulfill its duties. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's insulting. They are more likely to not fulfill their duties than I am. Yet, if I had taken all the money, I would have cut them their portion immediately, all at once for the whole year, even though, well, I haven't used the whole year yet. That's not how it works. We got a big chunk of change. We split it up, we take our cuts. You don't get to be the one who uses the money indefinitely until you decide to give it to me. It doesn't work like that. So, the moral of the story is twofold. Number one, from a debating perspective, don't let yourself get dragged into contention level argumentation because, one, it will hurt your case, at least with certain judges. Signs that scream is somebody who evaluated it on win-win. How can we make sure everybody benefits from this? Everybody walks away with as much faith as possible. Yeah. But and that's what happens, right? I would have lost that judge because she didn't walk away from there having hammered into her head the most important warrant, but the one that talked about the most. I talked about liability the most. Why did I allow myself to do that? It was a failure, a complete failure on my part. It was bad debating. What I needed to do was say, your liability point comes after the fact that you breached contract, bitch. There's no point in talking about it. You breached contract. Nothing else to talk about. You're in breach of contract right now. You're making the problem worse. You agreed to this. You didn't do it. We can talk about everything else after we settle this point. Why does it matter? Because nothing else after that point matters. They agreed to it. They had the option to choose the other one. The fact that people didn't walk away from the video with that foremost in their head proves that I did a bad job of impacting shit. I did a bad job. I let myself get led around by the dick like an idiot. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't fucker didn't know what he was doing. But he did it anyway. And I have only myself to wag a finger at here regarding that. Now, as far as understanding these sort of things from a viewer's perspective or a thinker's perspective or a feeler's perspective, the important thing to note is that we can't divorce the bad feeling somebody has from their own bad behavior that caused them. So the reason he's worried is because he allowed himself to sort of think for a minute that it was all his money in the account, you know? So that number looked, decent sized chunk bigger than it was before. It's like, good, I'm feeling rich. It's not your money. It never was your money. And you're not paying it to me. It's, you failed to pass it through like you should have. So, for feelers who go in and say, well, it's not fair because they're not in it, they were just worried, not, if we make those arguments, then we're saying, well, I know he raped you, but look how sad he is, and he didn't go to jail. I mean, I know he raped you and beat you to within an inch of your life, but I mean, he's genuinely upset about it, and so, cut him some slack. You're being so unreasonable. Obviously, that's an extreme case. Same warrant. You can't illogically, unethically make claims upon my property and then have it to the extent that anybody's willing to say then after that, the problem is I'm not being nice, I'm not being accommodating in responding to them and doing that. It is a travesty. You're missing the fucking point. The problem is never the loudness of he who objects to victimization. The problem is never the loudness of he who points out injustice. The problem is never the loudness of he who corrects that injustice. The problem is never the publicity that brings on. The problem is never the transparency. The problem's always the privacy, always the secrecy. The problem's always the lies. They were lying. They told me so many conflicting reasons for things that all they do is lie. I'm not saying they're a problem. I don't have any problem with Paramount. They've paid me all the money they owe me. As long as they don't go out of business between now and the end of the year, we're fine. Next year, I'm going to open up my own place because fuck these people. Fuck all these places because fuck them, because fuck them. I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and get a building. But I like them. I got no problem with them. You see, some people think that's crazy. How can you say you like them, you got no problem with them, and fuck those people at the same time? Because they're both true. I got no problem with them. We're going to be fine throughout the rest of the year. We're going to get along fine. At the end of the year, I might even feel some remorse about the fact that I'm leaving them because it just doesn't make any sense and they just didn't wow me enough. If they'd wowed me, that's one thing. If I love them, that's one thing. Then I'm loyal. But see, that's the thing. They sacrificed their loyalty. They sacrificed my loyalty to them. I don't feel loyal to them anymore. I don't feel obligated to do anything for them. For my own reasons. Internal reasons, you know? I mean, obviously, I'm going to fulfill all my obligations I think are appropriate to fulfill. The same ones that I committed to. Shit like that. But I no longer feel a sort of spiritual, what do you might call it? Debt of any sort. That I might, when people cooperate with one another in successful ways that don't involve, whether it was just a sort of mental failure because of dumbness, whether it was their, I mean, the thing is, it's not that, though. They're trying to fucking trick me. And I hate that. They're trying to outthink me and trick me. There's smart people with whom I have straight up, transparent, direct conversations. There's reasonably smart people, and they're largely going to keep their mouths shut and err on the side of caution if they're feeling contrary about something that involves an individual like me or any other person like me. Nick, Taylor, you guys 783s. These fuckers are stupid if they think for a second that they are going to outthink and trick me. It was only possible one time for me to get tricked. I didn't get outthought because I didn't commit any of the missteps that she anticipated I'd commit given the circumstances because I adhere to clear, distinct moral principles rather than a shifting, self-interest, arbitrary justification system. So, yeah, she tricked me, but she didn't outthink me ultimately because my TI had provided a sound architecture that didn't need to actually know what was going on to correctly adjudicate the situation. And that's the reason. That's another great reason to prefer deontology over utilitarianism. You just don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I know what the rules are, and I adhere to them. For a TI any type, understanding that rules are good if you adhere to them yourself and you have a good reason for having that set of rules and not some other set of rules. You have to, because then you're safe, like I was. I didn't do anything shady. I didn't cross any lines. I was always telling her the truth. I was always open and transparent about everything. She didn't like what she was hearing. She didn't like my tone. Well, kudos. That stupid bitch, Laura Lynn is her name. And, devil if there ever was one. These people are fine. Laura was a devil. Like, she utilized every devious, hidden, secretive trick she could. She used legal documentation to trap me. I won't sign shit anymore. Because even though she tricked me, it was because she betrayed me. And I didn't think she was going to do that. I just couldn't bring myself to believe that she was going to openly betray me. Smile on my face, tell me certain things, tell me direct, to my face lies that she knew were lies at the time she told them in order to trick me into behaving X way so that she could take advantage of that behavior later. I did not think that she had that in her. And she did 100%. She'd been doing it for quite a while. Unfortunately for her, I didn't make any mistakes that she expected me to make. I never overreached. My overreach is in tone. See? Why tone doesn't matter? Every single reason she gave for firing me was a quote from an email I wrote to her explaining what a fucking coward she was. Except the reason she breached contract to fire me, that she stated, that excused her from the breach of contract, was bringing disrepute upon the company. Except all the words she quoted as evidence in support of that were from internal emails between me and her. I can't bring disrepute upon the company except in her own head. So, that's the problem when you're an idiot. But it only becomes a problem when you stop listening to me and start trying to outthink me and trick me and take advantage of me. If you do that, you violate the cardinal rule. The cardinal rule is whatever else happens. I mean, whatever else, whether volcanoes are erupting, apocalypse, whatever. No matter how much justification you might think, no matter how bad the alternative might seem, how much worse it might seem than your current choice, the rule stands and should be adhered to with 100% passionate belief, faith, and enthusiasm. The rule is simple. Don't fuck with Eric. Very simple. Okay? I don't like that. You will pay. They didn't fuck with Eric. They paid me the money. But they kind of thought they were going to for a little while there. And I had to put them in their place. Am I going to continue to treat them like this, like they're children? Yeah. Why? Why are you being such a dick, Eric? Because they're fucking children, that's why. I mean, they're not fucking children. You know what I mean. They're children, for Christ's sakes. They have to be children. Otherwise, they wouldn't say, nuh-uh, 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 after I explained to them why yuh-huh. So, yeah, I'm going to continue telling Gene, remember, your job is not to think. You're trying to think again. I've already explained to you what the thing is. And we've already proven that neither you nor he can think. So, let me do the thinking, and you just follow instructions. Am I going to be that much of a dick? If they give me any pushback or anything, fuck yeah, I am. Why, Eric? Again, why are you rewarding the bad behavior by criticizing my just and righteous natural consequences? It's a natural consequence for their own bad behavior. They need to experience that or they'll never grow. Period. And remember, world's most exciting rule. Don't fuck with Eric. Don't fuck with Eric. Don't fuck with Eric. Don't fuck with Eric. A lot of different ways you can say it, no matter how you translate it, no matter what tone I say it in, whether it's failed overly dramatic, whether it's timid, don't fuck with Eric, or anything in between, it doesn't matter what my tone is because the message is the same, and the truth of that message should be sung from mountaintop to mountaintop, from valley to valley, from freeway to freeway, from ocean to ocean, and from planet to moon. What is that message, my friends? DONTFUCK Don't fuck with Eric. Yes, that's a bad idea. Eric will make a whole bunch of fuss about it. Yes, he will. He'll make a big fussy fuss about it. So, don't fuck with Eric. Fucking people. For Christ's sakes. And for those of you defending people who fuck with Eric, well, you're wrong. Okay? I mean, you're not fucking with Eric, so I like you and you're a wonderful person and everything, but you're wrong. They need to experience this spanking, and it'll do them good.